Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show today, Tim Kurkjian of ESPN will join us. We will talk some baseball. I will give you my thoughts on the NFL moves, all the free agency, but we will start with baseball and just a nightmare couple of days here for the Yankees. On Monday, you find out Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole both go for MRIs. Judge come back clean, but he won't swing a bat for the rest of the week. He's hoping to be back for opening day. The Yankees are just never forthcoming with these injuries. Boone tried to tell you, hey, we're trying to get some other people at bats. But the big one is Cole. Now we're recording this Wednesday morning, and we'll talk to Tim about it. We don't have any clarity in terms of Cole's MRI, going for second opinions, things like that. But he's not going to be ready for opening day. So best case scenario is this is bad news, and he's out a little bit of time. Worst case scenario, I mean, the worst case scenario, that's talking surgery. Again, we don't know that it's that. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Who knows? But the Yankees can't afford to punt on the season. You can't afford to just say, hey, this is, we'll get them next year. I mean, the thing about going, was it 82 and 80 last year and being nowhere near the playoffs, being out of it basically from July on is, Judge, I kept saying this, Judge and Cole aren't getting any younger. And Cole was brilliant last year. And Judge is entering a point in his career where you wonder how many great years he has left. And he missed time last year, obviously, and the lineup went into the tank when he wasn't there. But I mean, you just go back to not signing guys like Corey Seager and Machado and Harper. Like, you're going to bring in Cole. You're going to give Judge all this money. You gave Cole all this money to not supplement the team and really take advantage of your window to win. It's things like this you're susceptible to. And we'll see here how the Yankees manage it. You have to go out and add a pitcher. Again, you can't just punt on the season. You only have Soto for 1 year. Judge isn't getting any younger. So even with Cole, you could say the Yankees are probably a really good pitcher short. I mean, I think they were, because I don't know how much you can count on Cortez and Rodon and Stroman and the Schmitz of the world. I mean, they're okay, but the whole thing was, hey, Cole is great, and then we'll piece together the rest. Maybe one or two guys step up, and we have enough offense to get to the playoffs. And by the time you get there with Cole, if two of the other guys are really good, that's three good pitchers, and then you piece together the rest of it, and three's enough. But without Cole, forget it. Now they have enough offense where they can win some of these games with offense. You would think Judge back for opening day. You would think to go with Soto and some of the other guys, they could hang in there. And I think, again, without knowing anything, I think Yankee fans, Yankees in general, it sounds crazy to say, but I think you'd sign right now in blood for June 1st. Cole is healthy and ready to go. If you could tell, I think if you asked an average Yankee fan, hey, right now, you don't know anything about Cole's status, but June 1st, Cole is healthy, ready to go. He just needed some rest. You're going to miss him for 2 months, but on June 1st, he's good. I think you'd sign for that, because that would be what? 8 starts, 10 starts. You basically get 1 start a week, a little bit more than that every 5 days. So, yeah, 10 starts. So, saying 10 starts with Cole, you'd win 7 or 8 of those games. You go like 7-3, 8-2. Without Cole, could you go 5-5 and just, hey, we lose 2 games because we lose Cole for a couple months? That's probably a couple games you lose that you would have won. Okay, you could live with that. Anything after that, I mean, they could piece together. I guess you can go out and get us. I don't even know if they'll get Snell at this point. I guess you can get Cease, but Cease is not Cole. Snell is not Cole. And I mean, even a guy like Montgomery, if Cole's out an extended period of time, Montgomery's a nice pitcher. Everyone likes Montgomery. He's a gamer. But, it's not a fair swap. Nobody's a fair swap. But adding Montgomery to the mix, if Cole's not there, is, he'll help. You need an arm, but that is not something that's going to repair the damage if Cole's out an extended period of time. So, I don't know. Most of the numbers are down here on the Yankees. It's why I didn't think they were a good bet to begin with in terms of winning the whole thing. I thought, hey, if you want to take a shot plus 165 to win the division, I get that. But anytime you're betting a team 8-1, 10-1, you just, especially they're top heavy. They can't afford an injury to Cole. They can't afford an injury to Judge. So, boy, it's just a disaster. But the betting aspect, most of the numbers are down for the Yankees. The win total's down. Seeing here if anything else is up. I mean, that's why, it does help to be paying attention when the news comes out like that. And you just, hey, if you can see this news of Cole going for MRI, you get under 93.5 wins. That's a bet you make, because even if Cole's back, at some point he is going to miss some time. And again, the best case scenario, this is still bad news. I mean, maybe it's not that bad, but there's no scenario I don't see where he's ready for opening day or he's ready April 15th. But other than that, we don't know much. We'll find out probably by the time you're listening to this. So that is the baseball. Just a disastrous news cycle here the last couple of days for the Yankees. I mean, you can't make it up. They've been so snake bitten by these injuries too, and they lie about it constantly. I mean, Boone's trying to tell you, hey, we're pinch hitting for Judge. He's fine. Then next thing you know, he's going for MRI. But they can never just be honest. Last year, Rizzo with the concussions. I mean, they can never just tell you the truth. Hey, he's banged up. We'll see what's going on. We don't know. I mean, they're very, very misleading with this stuff, which I guess teams, they don't want to show you their hand too much. If, I don't know, you're trying to make a trade and you don't want to let the other teams know how desperate you're. I guess there's some of it to it, but I mean, there's such dishonesty with them where it's very, very hard to believe anything they say. When they tell you it's not a big deal, then you know it's a big deal. I mean, you can never trust what they say. We will see what happens with Cole. Quickly on the football, a lot of moves taking place. Cousins, obviously, to Atlanta, kind of thought that was possible. Wilson goes to Pittsburgh. I mean, I can't stand that move for Pittsburgh. I don't know why you'd bring him in. That's that's just, you're asking for disaster there. He's completely washed in my mind. It's a blue collar city too, and he is a diva. He's over the hill. I mean, I don't understand that move, but again, I don't know that any of these moves, Barkley to the Eagles, Patrick Queen to the Steelers, I don't know that any of these moves, as fun as they are, as much as people like the NFL, I don't know that any of this prompts a bet. I don't think it does. If you want to take Atlanta, I mean, if you bet the NFL for any amount of time, Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons are two of the parties that are just the most frustrating to bet at times, and you're going to combine them. If you want to lay minus money at this time of year to go bet the Falcons to win a division, okay. I mean, have at it. I'm not going to. They're favored. They're rightfully favored, but again, I don't know that they're like Super Bowl contenders. They're decent on defense. They're okay. Could they win that division and win a playoff game? Of course. But other than that, I mean, again, he's 36. He's coming off an Achilles. So I get it for Atlanta. It's an upgrade over what you had. And you could say, hey, we've got skill guys. We've got an okay defense. We just had a quarterback and we're in much better shape, which is true, which is also the same thing that the Vikings were saying 6-7 years ago. And this is, I mean, we saw how that turned out. He had his moments, but at the end of the day, that was a pretty good team. I mean, look, he walked into a team that went to an NFC championship game and went 13-3. And 6 years later, he won one playoff game. And again, it wasn't always his fault. A lot of it's the defense, whatever. But I mean, he had Justin Jefferson and Diggs and Thielen when he was good and Dalvin Cook when he was good. I mean, they had some decent defenses with Zimmer. And I don't know. If you're signing up for Cousins, you know what you're getting. It's a high floor. It's a low ceiling. You're going to be okay, but you're not going to be great. So again, am I rushing out to bet Falcons futures? I'm not. Am I rushing out to bet anything with the Eagles with Barkley, an older running back who can be banged up at times? I'm not. And again, these other moves, here's the thing with football, as much as we watch it, as much as we love it, I feel like none of us really know how good the players are, other than the skill guy, the quarterbacks and a few skill guys. I mean, how much do we really know about these offensive linemen, these defensive players? It's hard to really know, how good these guys are. It's not like we're sitting there watching the film, or even if we did, we know what we were watching. I guess if he's on your favorite team, you get a sense of this guy's really good or this guy's not. But it's just very hard with football as opposed to baseball, where, hey, this pitcher has an ERA, this batter has a batting average. You could put it into context. With football, it's hard to know, other than the quarterbacks, which you can have a feel for, or some of the skill guys. It's hard to know, who's really good, who really matters in terms of, these player transactions. Patrick Queen's a good example. Like, I know the name, I've heard of him. I think he's pretty good. But is he like a massive loss for the Ravens, or is he completely replaceable? I'm not really sure. So nothing that triggers a bet for me. It is fun to get the NFL in the news. A lot of big names changing teams. Swift goes to the Bears. A lot of running backs bouncing around. Jacobs goes to the Packers. Aaron Jones goes to the Vikings. But again, am I rushing to bet any of this stuff based on this news? No, I am not. So, boy, the people love football. Any sort of football news, though, and it gets a lot of attention. Again, I don't know that anything really moves the needle. Cousins would be the big one. And again, was somewhat expected. And that's something that, okay, you got Kirk Cousins on the Falcons. You'll be a little better, but other than that, I'm not sure really what to say. Minnesota probably going to draft the quarterback. They signed Darnold. Why teams still believe in Sam Darnold? I don't know. Probably a bridge guy. Maybe this is a bridge year where they just look at it to get their cap in order and they draft the quarterback this year. They just punt on the season. And, maybe some of these teams see what happened with Purdy and say, hey, we don't need to just trade up and overdraft the quarterback. We'll try to find our Brock Purdy along the way, which obviously is easier said than done, but it is a strategy where, you know what? These teams don't have that much success at the top of the draft. Look at the recent drafts, whether it's Fields or Lance, and Fields has had a hard time. There's no market for Fields. But Fields, Lance, Zach Wilson, even Lawrence, who everyone thought was great. Like, these teams don't have a lot of success picking them at the top. So maybe we'll just wait and take a flyer 4th, 5th round, and we'll try to find our guy along the way, develop him, put a good defense, skill guys around him. Maybe people go that route. I'm not sure. But NFL draft, a month away, 5 weeks away. NFL free agency is in full swing here with these guys changing teams, and obviously the baseball news with Cole and everything. Other than that, we will be starting the season here in a couple of weeks. And once it gets here, it is here every day. So fun time of the year. Conference tournaments in full swing. We did plenty of college basketball recently. We'll do more going forward, obviously, with the tournament coming up. But next, it is baseball with Tim Kurkjian. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Let's talk a little baseball. He is the best in the business. He joins us now. It is the great Tim Kurkjian, Hall of Famer. Tim Kurkjian. Tim, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you, William. I've done 2 tours of spring training. This is spring training number 44 for me, and I still love it. It's still the best time of year. Everyone's in a really good mood. No one's lost any games yet. I just enjoy it so much, and you learn stuff in spring training that can last you the entire season. Even if it's just a morsel you pick up from a young guy, then he comes up in August or September and you feel like you know him a little because you saw him and talked to him in March or February. Spring training is so much fun and it is so important.
He said everybody's in a good mood. Maybe not everybody. Let's start with the Yankees. Now, we're doing this Wednesday morning. We don't have a lot of clarity about Cole. Let's be honest. They're not very forthcoming, the Yankees, with these injuries. Let's say it's an extended absence. What direction do you think the Yankees go for a pitcher here?
Well, you're going to have to define extended. If he's going to miss a couple of months, let's say, and I'm not suggesting he is, it might just be a couple of weeks. He may just miss a start or two. If he's going to miss much more than that, and again, I'm not saying he is, then they're going to have to go get some help. I think they're a starting pitcher short anyway. Now you lose arguably the best pitcher in the game, one of the most durable pitchers that anyone has, and you lose him. I think they're going to have to go look at Blake Snell again. Although when I saw the Yankees at spring training, I was told just not sure that's going to happen here. But that changes things if Cole is going to be out for an extended period. And Dylan Cease is still out there for the White Sox. He threw really well yesterday in spring training. He's got spectacular stuff. And if the Yankees are intending to win a very stout American League East, they're going to have to go get another pitcher if Garrett Cole's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, and it's not a year they can punt on. With Soto on a 1-year deal, Judge is not getting any younger. I mean, they've already wasted enough of Judge in Cole's prime as it is. So it's not a year they can just say, hey, we'll get him next year. It's just that's not going to work. Just talking to people, do you get the whispers? Do people think it's serious, or people just have no idea?
I think we have to wait for the second MRI.
Yeah.
And again, anytime you're doing an MRI, it causes concerns, especially with a guy who basically has never hurt his arm. Now, maybe that's a good thing, that it's just a discomfort. It's not severe pain. But when he's not bouncing back in spring training at 45 or 50 pitches, and they're going to need him to go 100 every single game. Yes, this is a concern, but we have to wait this out, and the Yankees are just got their fingers crossed, as they should.
Other than that, with the Yankees, do you anticipate them being a lot better? I like the line. I mean, they're much more left-handed. They're much more balanced. They could not score runs, especially when Judge was out last year. Do you anticipate a much better, much deeper Yankee lineup this year?
I do. It wasn't just a subpar lineup last year. It was a bad lineup last year. And I think it's going to be demonstrably better. But that, of course, means Aaron Judge is going to be healthy and is going to play 150 games. But more important, Juan Soto adds just an element to the lineup that was so desperately needed. He might be the best hitter in the game. And his career on-base percentage is .420. The Yankees' on-base percentage last year was .307. They weren't on base. They weren't driving people in, and they had a lot of injuries. I think I had a Yankee tell me we're going to score 200 more runs this year than last year. That is an enormous leap, by the way. But if they score, in the mid 800s in runs, which 200 would mean, then they could balance off their pitching a little bit more. But again, you can't say we're going to outscore anyone because Garrett Cole's going to be out. You got to outscore everyone and go get another starting pitcher.
You tweeted about Jackson Holliday. You saw him in person. Like, give me a feel for how good he could be. I mean, the Orioles are loaded with these prospects. And let me ask you this. If you had to put his over-under, I know this is unfair, over-under career MVPs at 1.5, which direction would you go?
Well, it's little early for a 20-year-old, but All right, I'm going to say under, but I think he's going to win an MVP before he's done. He's Matt Holliday's son. His grandfather was a coach. He grew up in the game. I remember seeing him when he was 5 years old, and Matt brought him over to me and said, Jackson, show Mr. Kurkjian how you can do Ichiro's batting stance or somebody like that. And Jackson Holliday could do that, which I found amazing. But when you grow up in a ballpark and your dad is that good of a player, and this is all you've ever wanted to do, I really, really like his future. I think he'll be their everyday second baseman to start the season, although that's still not certain. And if you just watch him, William, you just watch that beautiful swing. You watch how fluid and athletic he is in everything he does, catching a ground ball, throwing, running. There's nothing not to like about him. He was the best player in the minor leagues last year. And I think the Orioles are in a position to say, all right, we're going to put him on our club and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm almost numb to some of these former athletes, their kids being in the big leagues. I know it makes you feel Matt Holliday's kid already being in the big leagues. That's one that kind of hits on like, my goodness, how old are we all getting that Matt Holliday's kid is already in the big leagues? That's a strange one for me.
Right. Well, Matt Holliday, Jackson told me that Matt and his youngest brother, they had a home run hitting contest recently, and dad beat the two kids.
Wow.
And the high school kid is going to be one of the, he might end up being as good as Matt or Jackson. That's how good that kid is. But dad, using an aluminum bat, still out-homered his two kids. And I'm really not surprised by that because Matt Holliday was one strong man and is still in great shape.
Yeah, outstanding hitter he was. The Dodgers, were people around the league surprised? I mean, it kind of went under the radar that you take Mookie Betts and just switch positions from one key position to another this late in the process. Were you surprised? Were people around baseball a little surprised by this move?
Well, I wasn't surprised because they already moved him from right field to second base. So now he's in the infield, and that doesn't mean second base, shortstop, they're the same thing. They're not. But he is such a great athlete. And the fact that he started his career as an infielder, the fact that he's always wanted to play the infield, but couldn't play second base because Dustin Pedroia was there. That's how he ended up in right field. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything quite like this. I mean, Tony Womack, 2000, Tom Trash, 1968 are the only two players to play at least 70 games at shortstop in a season following a season in which he played 100 games in the outfield. But I have never seen an outfielder of this caliber defensively, Mookie Betts, moving into the infield at this age. It just has never really happened before, and I have every faith that he will be a good second baseman and now a good shortstop because he's so driven to be good at everything that he does. His level of precision is incredible. And I think he'll be an above average major league shortstop, having been arguably the best right fielder defensively in the game.
Is there a team that you think is going to be a little better than most people think, a little worse than most people think? What are your takeaways just from being around spring training and talking to people, getting the vibe of Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I'd just like to be right once about this. Pick a team that nobody's picking to go, like, say, the Diamondbacks last year or even the Rangers. Although I did say the Rangers are going to be significantly better. I just didn't see them winning the World Series. I saw the Guardians, and I love the Guardians pitching, but only if Shane Bieber comes back and it's the pitcher say he was 2 years ago. And I don't know how they're going to score enough runs, but that's a winnable division. And even though I think the Twins are still the class of the division, I don't think you can take your eyes off the Guardians. New manager Stephen Vogt replaces a legend in Tito Francona. But if they're starting pitching, because their bullpen's really good, if they can score enough runs, I think there might be a team that can win a division that others aren't picking. And of course, the NL Central is way up in the air. We got 3, maybe 4 teams that can win that division. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that. I just love the Cubs getting Cody Bellinger back, because boy, do they need him.
Where do you think these last free agents end up? Montgomery, Snell, when and where?
Well, we've been asking the same question for 3 months now, and I don't understand how Blake Snell can still be out there. Go look at his numbers against his curveball, changeup, and slider last year. He was the hardest starting pitcher in the game to hit, and of course, he won the Cy Young. But he's asking for an awful lot. Scott Boras is his agent. So to answer your question, I can't believe the Red Sox haven't signed one of these guys, especially with Lucas Giolito going down. I know the Angels have been really hot for another starting pitcher, and yet that hasn't happened. Never discount the Phillies from jumping in at the last second. And of course, the Yankees have to be in now on Snell and Montgomery to a lesser degree with Cole's injury. So I think it has to happen soon, and it has to happen with one of those teams. But I've been saying the same thing for 3 months.
Last couple ones before we get you out of here. If I made you commissioner of baseball, the czar of baseball, what would your playoff format be? Do you like this new one?
Um, I like it, but it needs some tweaks. We have to get the division winners playing as quickly as possible. So the wild card series has to begin on Monday, not Tuesday. As soon as a wild card series is over, the division winner gets to play its game, meaning we're not going to wait till Friday or Saturday to play. It's a daily game. It's played best when it's played every day. When you play it every day for 6 months, and then the biggest games happen and you get 5 days off, there is no way to replicate a real baseball game unless you play a real baseball game. So I would get the division winners playing as quickly as possible to cut down on their time off from the end of the regular season to the playoffs.
You're okay with the number of teams?
Well, look, I'm a purist. I thought it
Me
worked
too.
awfully well with 5, but 6, I acknowledge it keeps more teams involved. It keeps more teams in it. But we all have to remember baseball is the one sport. If you get in the playoffs, like the Diamondbacks got in and the Rangers got in last year, anything can happen. I don't think it works that way in football. I know it doesn't work that way in the NBA. So you got to be careful with 6, but I'd rather have it 5, but we're at 6. I just need to make sure those division winners are playing sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I liked it when it was. I mean, I considered it 4, where the wild cards fought to the death, and if you win the division you're in, and the 2 wild cards battle, and one of them gets knocked out, it added a game 7 to start the playoffs. I just thought that was perfect, but that's, like you said, it's the direction all these sports are going. There's just going to add more teams and more teams to everything. It's more revenue, it's more money. It's the way it's going to be. They're not going to be cutting back. So doesn't matter, who likes it or who doesn't. It's how it is. Last one before we get out of here. With this playoff format, it's impossible to ask, so I understand that. But World Series prediction, who would you pick right now?
I'd also like to be right about that one time. Also, I I think the Braves have the best team in the National League. If the Dodgers beat the Braves and go to the World Series, of course, no surprise there. Same with the Phillies. That's how good I think the Phillies are. But I'm going to say that the Braves are going to make the playoffs and go to the World Series from the National League. And I still love the Astros. I mean, their lineup they got everyone back. Their starting pitching is really good, assuming Verlander comes back healthy and throws a bunch of innings. They've added Josh Hader to the end. They're angry at the way that they played last year. I'm going to say the Braves play the Astros in the World Series, and I'll take the Braves to win again. But William, I will change my mind on that tomorrow. That's how unpredictable baseball is, and that's why it's such a beautiful, beautiful game.
Tim, appreciate you coming on. Always fun to catch up. Hopefully we'll do this again down the road. Where can everyone catch you the rest of spring and going forward baseball season?
Well, I'm do a lot of baseball tonight, and starting March the 28th, my son Jeff and I are going to do our own podcast, and we've never done that before. He's 30, I'm 67. We're going to do a father-son baseball podcast starting in a couple of weeks, and I hope it works. We'll see how it goes.
All right, Tim, you're the best. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. See you.
All right, that will do it. Thank you to Tim Kurkjian. We'll be back Friday. Steve Fezzik will join us. We'll talk some college basketball, bracket strategy, how to bet the tournament, how to win your pools. Always give some Vegas hacks. So we will see you Friday. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. See you then.